Hey everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here. Today we're going to be talking about silver stacking. There's 12 types of silver that I've identified that make up the bulk of what people have stacked and stashed away in their silver stacks, whether that ranges from bullion to coinage to art to bars, whatever it is. I'm going to be trying to talk about it, and I'm going to rank them. 12 is the worst, 1 is the best in terms of my personal scale. I'll talk about each one, think about some of the pros and cons that they have to offer. So let's get into our first one, and that's going to come in at number 12. Now, number 12 is something that is a point of confusion for a lot of people, and they might not really understand what they have, but that is jewelry silver. So I think that this would be a really bad thing to invest in if you're hoping that it's going to have linked to its silver price. Often the silver in a ring is used because there's a lot of artistic beauty in the ring. Totally different market. The silver is often pretty thin or a small amount. It's only going to be worth a few dollars at most, but there's definitely not a good return on your investment from the silver perspective, regardless of if the jewelry itself moves up or down in price or value. And since this is from the silver stacking perspective, number 11 is going to be silver commemorative coins or coins with a lot of numismatic value. So the silver commemoratives are often like US Mint issued coins, and they get sold for a lot more than their silver is worth, and then they simply do not have much of their value tied to the silver. Now that's a pretty good scenario. Maybe it's a sale price of $40 and then $20 is the silver value, for example, but the drastic differences seen in a lot of collectible pieces. Could be an $800 or $1,000 coin that has $5 of silver value. And that's not to say that these are bad investments or good investments, but they're just not silver stacking material. It's a totally different access when you're coming at it from a numismatic lens. So it's just really important to differentiate that. That's why I would say don't invest in those things if you're hoping to build a silver stack. Number 10 is a really cool form of silver, and it's a bummer that I'm going to put it so low, but I think that it's just important to kind of have a discussion about it. That's things like poured art silver. So this is maybe like a casted silver piece. There could be a fair amount of silver in it and it'll be worth something, but the art on these is awesome normally and beautiful and really cool, but that means that the prices again are not going to really reflect what the actual silver content is. For some of the amateur poured art bars, maybe it's the same, but on a really nice one, often it's going to be a cool way maybe to diversify a silver stack or something like that, but it's not going to be something where you want to put your money in that because you're probably not going to get the most silver for your money's worth. Number 9 is a market that I should understand more. I've been exposed to a bit working in the coin shop, but that is collectible silver bullion. So these are silver bullion. For example, we had a 5-ounce Engelhard bar. It was really rare. Came through the shop. We sold it for $700. So that's $140 an ounce at a time when silver was trading about $16 an ounce. So it's way more. Again, it's a really cool way. A lot of these things are great if you're really into the silver community and you have a lot of disposable income and you don't mind if it's not really a solid silver investment. It's a really cool way to be diversified within the silver scope, but it's not a silver stacking item. So if you are buying your silver, again, the big theme of this is cutting down on the premiums, not making sure that you're spending all this money. You want to be buying the silver and that's it from the silver stack. But again, if you have a ton of silver and you want to have some really cool pieces and showcase items, that's when that becomes a good thing to do. But for now, we're going to leave it in the bottom half of our list. Number 8 is going to be scrap silver, and this is maybe the form of silver that has the most amount in it. I'm not really sure exactly on what the statistics are, but we see it all the time, whether it's just literally scrap, like scrap metal you would think, and it's in silver form, or it's really old damaged things like candelabras or candlesticks or old silver plates or something that are really damaged and people just want to sell them for the silver value. There's no value in having it as a plate or candlestick or whatever it may be. It's not really recognizable, that's the thing. So from silver stacking perspective, sure, you can definitely include it in your stack, but it's not going to be the best when you go to sell it compared with other forms. And it's always going to be a little bit clunky, a little bit difficult to measure. A lot of the candlesticks actually are just a coating, so they can be a thick coating, while on the inside will be some type of wax or something like that. So it's just not really a standardized thing with the scrap silver. There's lots of different finenesses. Hopefully it's going to be sterling silver or something high. Sometimes they were really alloyed where there's not much silver in something, but technically silver. So because of all of those factors, you don't want to be buying that too much unless you, and this is something to be said, you could have a real interest and specialty in making money in ways that I don't really know about because I'm not super familiar with the scrap market outside of buying it and then selling it by the pennyweight or whatever to refineries. But it's not a great thing if you're stacking to start buying. Number 7 is foreign silver coins. And this is one of my favorite things. They're really cool. I love foreign and world coins. But there is a truth to them, and that is that often you pay a lot more compared to what you get when you could be trading something like junk silver. There's a lot more, often at least, numismatic premiums associated with these foreign silver coins. There's some that definitely aren't, things like Canadian silver, but there's something to be said for the 90% junk silver of the United States. That'll be higher up on this list. I'm not going to tell you exactly where it is, but it's just important to realize that foreign silver doesn't have the same, again, going back to scrap silver and some of the other things, recognizability, quality assurance that really makes something like precious metal stacking tick, to just have something that's really recognized and people know what it is and it's a quantifiable source of silver. Number 6 would be official mint-made bullion that is multiple ounces or a non-standard amount. This is a niche thing. There's not too much of it, but I did put it up a little bit higher on the list. These are things like 5-ounce America the Beautiful quarter silver rounds, things like that, made by the mint or maybe made by a foreign mint as well. Just, again, the premiums are probably going to be a little bit high. 5 ounces is a lot different from 1 ounce in terms of the availability to turn it over. Again, there's more collectible premiums. You're going to have to pay, or somebody had to pay more for it than the standard prices should have been on 5 ounces of generic silver. So for that reason, it's going to rank a little bit lower. I don't have a ton of experience with these, and again, it can be a really fun way. A lot of silver stackers aren't necessarily only looking to just have a ton of silver in all the same type. It can be fun to diversify, and it's a better one, for example, to diversify than from an economic standpoint than something like the poured art silver bars, but it's still not really getting the most bang for your buck, especially for a new stacker. Number 5 is where I start being a little bit more comfortable in my recommendations and saying that something's definitely solid. So number 5 would be like a silver bar. And ideally, when you get into silver bars, you don't go for the extremely heavy, like a 10 kilo or 10 pound bar. I mean, that's really expensive, but still, it's better to have more liquid and more movable things than just huge bars. If you have like 10 ounces or maybe a pound or a kilo even, it's a lot better because it's tough on the larger ones. You get less when you go back to sell because just so much. And then you also can't really break it up in times of need where you might need to pay in $20 or $50 worth of silver. If all you have is one bar, you're in, or I should say out of luck. And then the other thing is you do need to have trust in the issuer. Like I was saying before, it's important. It can be fun to have a ton of varieties of different bars, but you want to make sure that there's something backing it so that people know that what they have in their hand, if they're looking to buy or trade for your bar, that it's going to be real. Number 4, we have a pretty cool option, and that is generic silver 1 ounce rounds. There's some pros and cons I'll get into. The big pros, though, are that this can often be obtained at really close to spot, maybe even slightly under spot if you get the right deal. But these are going to be just random companies, third-party companies making these 1 ounce often, or this is for number 4, it is the 1 ounce variety of silver. The problem is that they aren't really as recognized as something else as more recognized silver bullion, which again will be higher on the list, but I'm not going to tell you exactly where. And then the other cool thing though about it is that you can get a ton of different designs. People are not restricted in what they can put on these 1 ounce generic bullion rounds because they can do whatever they want. They're not the mint that has to get all their designs approved, and it's a legislative process. They just get to stamp whatever they want out of 1 ounce of silver, so you can get some neat designs that commemorate specific things that you really like or that just look cool. And at number 3 on our list, now we're getting to some pretty high quality stuff. That's going to be foreign government-made 1-ounce bullion coins, so ranging from the Austrian Philharmonic to the Mexican Libertad to my personal favorite and what's recognized probably as the second most enjoyed 1-ounce bullion coin, the Canadian Maple Leaf. All these coins are really well recognized. There's other cool ones I'm not mentioning, but again, the Canadian Maple Leaf, really well recognized. A lot of people actually opt to go for Maple Leaves over the American Silver Eagle, but they're a very solid investment. They're recognized, cool, well made, they've got good strikes, and they're just a solid option. And now there's not a ton of problems with these coins. There's less cons, so it might go a little quicker. Number 2, though, is going to be junk constitutional silver, 90% U.S. silver coins. So for the silver, the dimes, quarters, and half dollars are 90%. That's going to be 1964 and back. They're just really well recognized. The advantage of them over things like these 4 and 1 ounce rounds is that they're even more liquid. So silver dimes, I think there's like 13 in an ounce. So you get that much more specificity with your choices. So that can just be really convenient for a lot of people. And it's classic, it's recognized again, and you can definitely pick it up at very close to or below spot prices, which is a bit different when compared to random foreign coins that are junk silver. As an add-on, there's also fun ways that you can bridge the junk silver collecting with numismatic collecting. There's date runs, things like the Franklin half dollar and the Washington quarter, with the exception of 2 coins, but especially the Roosevelt dime. You can do date runs of them with next to no key dates or added costs. I think the added cost would be like $100 for Washington quarters, but you can probably build these Franklin sets out of spot. Obviously, the condition won't be great, but it's something that is a cool way to bridge that. And then number 1 is the American Silver Eagle. It's really just a great standard coin. We see it a ton in the shop. It comes in monster boxes, or it comes in regular cases or rolls, or you can just buy one from a local dealer or something. They're not sold through the mint. They're sold by third party who are affiliated with the mint, but they have a little bit of a premium. But when you go to sell, they're so widely recognized that you often can retain a lot of that premium compared to other silver purchases. And again, it's the most recognized. They came in 1986, and ever since they've pretty much been at the top of the game, at least in my opinion and most other people's opinions, I think. The disadvantage is you might get slightly less silver per dollar in the beginning than you might get with like generic rounds or 90% silver, but stacking is a little bit different in that, I don't know, I think the American Silver Eagle is pretty much the go-to in this case. But with that being said, thank you so much. Maybe I forgot some types of silver, maybe you really disagree with me, and I'd love to hear that in the comments, or if you agree with me, that would be awesome too. But I look forward to seeing how this video is received, and I'll see you on some other content. I'm going to try to do slightly more with some silver stacking content. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to get in touch with me, do so on my website, treasuretownYT.com, my Instagram, TreasureTownYT, or my Facebook, TreasureTown. I've got links in the description, and I'll see you on some of my other videos.